All right, guys, we are back with the episode 4 recap and review. So, after taking out the South Americans, Reacher shoves their bodies in the trunk and then gets in touch with Roscoe and Finley and somehow convinces them that they should just hide the bodies until later. It seems a little bit far-fetched, but I get it. They're trying to keep whoever is working on the inside of this investigation and leaking stuff to the bad guys from doing that. You know, there's definitely a mole because of all the leads that keep getting taken out. And so, yeah, he convinces them to dump the bodies at long-term parking at the airport, which I always thought that was really clever. That's something directly from the book. And I remember reading that and going, oh, yeah, that's pretty smart. Anyway, this all happens, but not before Roscoe questions Reacher about what happened in Baghdad. And he ends up saying, it wasn't actually in Baghdad. It was further, 40 kilometers from Baghdad or something like that. But Kleiner had told her, oh, did he tell you about Baghdad? And, it was this big, terrible thing that he had this black mark on his resume. And so he tells her what happened, that he took out a bunch of people who were, abusing children, kid diddlers, and that he killed them. And so she's like, oh, okay, moving on. So yeah, it's what did Kleiner think? I mean, obviously Kleiner didn't know the whole story, but he had done something wrong in Baghdad or something, killed some guys or something. So anyway, moving on. So they dump the bodies at the airport and move on with the investigation. And we get more of Mayor/Chief Teal being nefarious. He's trying to basically scare Finley off the case. And he's also communicating with Officer, I keep forgetting his name, but the officer that's been asking questions the whole time and being kind of suspicious, this entire series. Somehow this guy is involved. Maybe he's the mole. Maybe he's the one leaking information to people higher up and heading Reacher and Roscoe off at every turn. Anyway, Reacher and Roscoe, they go to the truck driver's house that was also killed the night that Joe was killed. And we talked about it last episode. But they come to figure out, what the hell he was calling Kleiner for, or what the hell he was hauling stuff for Kleiner, what it was that he was hauling, why Kleiner was covering his legal bills, etc. Also, Reacher keeps saying, you remember from last episode, there's all that feed, the incredible amount of animal feed at the Kleiner's place being loaded. And Reacher keeps bringing that up, which I think is hilarious because I thought it was funny the first time he said it, but he brings it up several times in this episode. It's just way too much animal feed. It doesn't make any sense. He's making a big fuss about it, no one else seems to care. Anyway, there's something going on with that feed. So they go and talk to the truck driver's widow, right? And basically she says, he's been up to some shady shit for years, working for Kleiner, but she just thinks that he's stealing from Kleiner and figures he probably got himself killed. She thinks that he's just she thinks he's hauling these air conditioning units, right? And that he's just stealing some, having some quote unquote fall off the truck, right? Every once in a while, because they live in a nice fancy house. And it's what truck driver, and I would know, lives in a big fancy house like this truck driver and his wife lived in. Anyway, Reacher thinks maybe this is somehow related to the counterfeiting. He doesn't say that, but he just goes along with the wife's story. He's all right, we'll see you later. So, maybe there's counterfeit bills in there. Maybe he's moving counterfeit bills for Kleiner and taking a little bit off the top with each haul. That's what Reacher thinks anyway. So Reacher and Roscoe get a little closer this episode. A lot closer this episode after Reacher talks to Molly Beth Gordon. She was someone that was close to Joe that we met last episode, and she's going to share files about with the investigation, to lead them to what Joe was investigating in Margrave and what he found out. Anyway, after talking to Molly, Roscoe kind of sees this softer side of Reacher and, I don't know, turns her on. So she joins him in the shower. And this wasn't like surprising for me. You know, it's another part of the book. This is right out of Killing Floor, but it did feel kind of random, like in the episode. It was like, oh, he's in the shower, he's sad. Oh, there's naked Roscoe. And we moved right past it pretty quick, actually. It wasn't like a drawn-out sex scene or anything, which you know, I kind of appreciated. Like, I don't feel like this action thriller mystery series needs, like, big, drawn-out, detailed sex scenes. Like, not sure we need that. But the next morning, she makes it clear that, like, you know, this changes nothing. She doesn't want him to treat her any differently. And so they move on. They go. They're supposed to go meet Molly Beth Gordon at the airport to retrieve the files. But before that can happen, Reacher and Roscoe have another run-in with some South American bad guys. Nice little action sequence. Little shootout. You know, Reacher leads them away from Roscoe to take them out. But Roscoe ends up actually saving Reacher's ass by the end, and she's pissed off because, you know, Reacher's now treating her different. Like, he's being protective of her. He's trying to lead the bad guys away from her. Like, and, you know, she's just a tough chick, man. You know, she wants to stand on her own 2 feet. You want Reacher, like, going out of his way to look out for her or you know, protect her. All right, so now with everything needing to be done all at once and everything going on, and needing to continue the investigation, being in all different places, you know, meeting Molly Beth Gordon at the airport to get the documents, it's like, how are we going to do all this stuff? How are we going to go meet Molly Beth Gordon, work on this part of the case, figure out who these South American guys are? You know, like, so they call in some help because they're a little shorthanded. They call in some help from Reacher's past. And this, my friends, is my favorite part of episode 4. The introduction of Frances Nagley. It's short and sweet, and we don't get to know her very much at all, really. But she's definitely got Reacher's number. You know, she talks to him in a way that no one else would dare talk to him. And, you know, if Roscoe's tough, Nagley is a total badass. And now we don't completely see that here already. You know, I'm projecting a little bit because I know Frances Nagley from the book series. And let me just say that I don't want to give too much away, but, you know, this might be the biggest departure from Killing Floor so far. Frances Nagley is a regular character throughout the Jack Reacher novel series. However, she's not introduced until like book 4 or 5 in the series. You know, she was not originally a part of Killing Floor. And so I know a lot of readers, when hearing that, you know, that they were a little upset that they were inserting Frances Nagley into the series. However, I am not upset, you know, at all, because I want to see Frances Nagley, and I understand why they did it. You know, I want to see her in live action. You know, there's no way of knowing if this show would be renewed and if we'd get a second, third, fourth season. And, you know, depending on how they adapt the books, we might not have gotten to see Frances Nagley until several seasons into the series. So I'm glad they introduce her here. You know, she's one of the best characters throughout the book series, and it's always a treat when she pops up to help Jack with something, you know, something. Sometimes it's just a phone call, you know, like we saw in this episode. And sometimes, you know, they actually partner up for an entire book, like in Bad Luck and Trouble. Anyway, I love Nagley, and I feel like this little scene we get right here, like I said, I know some people were worried about that, about whether whoever they cast would do a good job as Nagley, but I feel that much like casting Alan Ritchson and everybody, really, like, they kind of nailed it. I think whoever the casting director is for this series did a hell of a job. Anyway, we get the quick introduction to Nagley. I'm sure we're going to see her in episodes to come, but then we get the kind of heartbreaking part of the episode. Reacher and Roscoe go to the airport to meet Molly Beth Gordon. She's supposed to give him the files, and she is, before she can do that, she's taken out by an assassin. Now, I'm willing to bet it was a South American assassin, given how this story has gone so far, but she's taken out by this mysterious assassin. We don't actually see it happen, and the briefcase she had full of documents is long gone. So another lead that has been ripped right out from under Reacher, Roscoe, and Finley. And that's it. That does it. That brings us to the end of the episode. A lot happened in episode 4, and I thought it was one of the stronger episodes we've seen thus far. I cannot wait to get into the second half of the series. We are halfway through the series, guys. I know a lot of you have already binged the entire series, and I wish I could have done that as well, but, I want to do these detailed reviews, and so it's a little difficult. Also, hey, man, I got a family, a family of 5, full-time job. My wife is sick right now, so I'm trying to help out with the kids a little more than usual, but you guys don't care about that stuff. Anyway, thank you so much for bearing with me while I get these episodes out. I'm trying to put one out a day if possible, and I appreciate all the support I've been getting from you guys so far in a lot of the Reacher Facebook groups and right here on YouTube and on the podcast, so thank you so much for tuning in to my episode 4 review, and I'll be back shortly to talk about episode 5. Cannot wait to talk again. Please subscribe to the channel. All kinds of Reacher stuff, entertainment and pop culture stuff on this channel. But if you're here just for the Reacher stuff, I've done a ton of that in the past and will continue to do it in the future. So stick around, even if it's only for Jack Reacher content. Plenty of book reviews already on the channel, along with news that comes out, about the book series, about Andrew Child and Lee Child, and about this Amazon series. So yeah, tons of Reacher content to dig into, and way more to come. Thanks again for listening. I will talk to you again tomorrow. Thanks.